Good evening and welcome to the 60th episode of the Jacksonian. I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and I have with me is the host of Locked On Patriots and the lead writer for Patriots Country at Fan Nation, the one and only Mike Abate. As we'll be going over our take on the 2024 season, what hiring Mike Vrabel means for the Patriots and the rest of the AFC East, the coaching staff getting filled up, and much, much more. And let me tell you something, folks. It's going to be a wild ride. How you doing today, good buddy?
I'm doing great, Jackson. Thank you so much for having me on today. Always love talking Patriots football, especially with you, bud. And it has been an interesting offseason in Foxborough so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute for New England. I mean, like, good grief. It's like, I'm still kind of letting it sink in that there's no Bill Belichick there.
Hmm.
It's like, I know it's like I don't know what's weirder, Belichick not in New England or in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Chapel Bill come out in that cutoff hoodie that is that Carolina blue rather than the typical Patriot blue that we're used to seeing up here in New England. But yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. All of last year, even with all due respect to Gerard Mayo and watching him and sitting in on his press conferences and being there in and around the team and really just around the franchise over at One Patriots Place at Gillette Stadium, you almost still felt like Bill was going to be walking in. It just felt very weird when you knew that finality set in that he wasn't going to be there. Now with Brian moving on, the Patriots and the connection that they have with the Belichick family no longer there for the first time since 1999. So things will be different in Foxborough this year without question.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like I just don't see Belichick as like a college coach, but then again, nobody could really see Bill Walsh as a college coach either, but yet
True.
he did.
Yeah, I mean, those guys just have a way of adapting to the game. They love football. They love to teach it. Um, I had the good fortune of sitting in on several Bill Belichick practices, mostly through training camp. Obviously, during the season, they only allow you to watch a very select few minutes of the practice before you're ushered out, before the real stuff begins. But you can tell that Bill Belichick just has a love to teach the game of football. And I think he's going to bring that to North Carolina. How his style translates to the collegiate game, that's going to be worth watching. Is he going to be able to adapt to college students as opposed to professional football players? That's going to be worth watching. But when it comes to the X's and O's on a football field, Bill Belichick has seen it all, done it all. I think that'll be his smoothest transition. When he's teaching the nuances of the game of football, that's when he's at his happiest. And I think it's when he's at his most effective.
Oh yeah. And for those who didn't tune in to the first episode we did together, shall I tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. This will be my sixth season now covering the Patriots for Locked On Patriots as the host of that podcast, available Monday through Friday. We continue to bring you daily Patriots coverage each and every day of the comings and goings in Foxborough. I've been a credentialed member of the media for the past 3 years, writing for outlets such as SI's Fan Nation, Sports Illustrated itself, and now Patriots Country with Athlon Sports. So I've been in writing for the NFL since 2015. Started off covering the Los Angeles Chargers and being an NFL analyst as a whole. So good amount of experience covering the Shield for the past 10 years now, and it's flown by. It really has been a very interesting and wild ride covering professional football, but definitely a labor of love, no question about it. And one of the great things that I love to do is, coming on and talking with passionate fans and great media members like yourself. It always makes this job a lot more rewarding. So thank you for having me on today. Yeah, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
There we go, man. It's always fun talking about the Patriots, especially with you, Mike.
Absolutely, bud.
And the 2024 season, it looked like it was going to have a nice start, especially the Jared Mayo era. Nobody was thinking, oh, Mayo's going to get fired after his first season, especially when they get a huge win against the Bengals. Now,
Right.
it's like for those that don't like really watch a lot of the Bengals, they always have these slow starts, but the Patriots beating the Bengals, it looked like something big was going to happen.
Mhm.
Maybe not the 6 Super Bowls that they got, but maybe back into the playoffs in the AFC East. What was going through your mind through week one at that time?
Yeah, week one was, I don't want to say a shocker because I know the Patriots had a very strong week of practice heading into that matchup. They were very razorly focused. They knew the stakes that were involved. The first game in the post Bill Belichick era, everyone expecting the Patriots to kind of just lay down and not be a formidable opponent to the Cincinnati Bengals. They did a very good job of playing well on offense and in defense that game. I know a lot of people say they ran into a weakened Bengals team that maybe wasn't taking them seriously enough. Maybe there's something to be said for that, but the Pats played very well that game, and they came out with a win, and it gave people a lot of hope for what this team could be. But as they started to get into the better part of the season, you started to see them play teams like the San Francisco 49ers, and you started to see them play teams like the Houston Texans that were superior in every facet of the game. You started to see where this team was indeed deficient. And that caused some concern because you knew that the Patriots were having difficulty on defense getting after the quarterback and being aggressive and showing some type of urgency in their pass rush. They were trying to do their best to run the football, but that wasn't as effective as it had been in years past. So you started to see these types of difficulties that the Patriots had. And then as the season wore on, then you really saw that this was not just about the Patriots not having the ability to rise above what they had that they had. This was really about a personnel situation where the Patriots just didn't have the horses to be able to compete in the division, in the conference, and ultimately in the NFL. And more often than not, they found themselves on the wrong side of these games. They were able to eke out a couple of wins. I know Patriots fans would have liked to have seen them win one less. It would have meant the number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. But to me, I think I learned all I needed to know about this team when they lost heading into the bye against the Indianapolis Colts. Really tough loss there, a 25-24 loss to them. And then coming out of the bye, December 15th, you only had a few games left, only 4 left on the schedule. You wanted to see some urgency. You wanted to see some fight left in the Patriots at that point. They came out and dropped a very lethargic game against the Arizona Cardinals, and that ultimately, I think, sealed their fate. It showed that this team had apparently either checked out or that they simply just didn't have the personnel to compete. And at that point, it was almost like, okay, well, let's mercifully end this season and see where we're going to go in 2025.
Well, there is one good thing that you got over the Jets, even though you lost them big time on Thursday night with a very uh, in and out Al Michaels calling the game. He's
Mhm.
just like, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah, it's
But
true. It really is. I mean, you're so unused to seeing the New England Patriots on the opposite side of these types of games where you're being flexed out for not the same reason that you would have been flexed into a game previously. This is a team that was always primetime gold. When Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were here and the Patriots were winning championships, we're now a few years removed from that. Those days are over. If the Patriots are going to play in primetime, there's a very good chance that it's going to be flexed out of that if there's an opportunity for teams to do it. And if they are, it's usually going to be met with the type of malaise that you saw Al Michaels have in that matchup. So, yeah, it's different times up here in Foxborough, but hopefully we're back on track to reverse that trend sooner rather than later.
one bright side to that is the Jets are never going to be taking over the Patriots because it's like they had a chance. I mean, they had Aaron Rodgers, but
Yeah.
it's like they couldn't get anything done. Which I mean, I told people like, look, you're not going to see the Jets do much of anything. This is going to be exactly like the '08 season where they had Brett Favre,
Mm,
and it looked like it was going to be awesome, but then it was a dud. It was
yeah.
nothing but a dud.
Mm,
I, and they couldn't do anything with Bill Parcells as head coach. Like Bill Parcells did his best, but he couldn't get anything. He couldn't get a Super Bowl out of the Jets. I mean, if Bill
mm.
Parcells can't do it for you, nobody can.
Very true. And it goes to show you that anything and everything can happen in the NFL. You always have to have faith that you can get the job done, but at the same time, you can never be too overconfident and take anything for granted. A lot of people looked at the Jets and said the only thing they're missing is a quarterback. You plug Aaron Rodgers in, and all of a sudden, that team's going to elevate to levels that we've never seen them reach before. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, both without Aaron Rodgers in the lineup because of the injury in 2024, in 2023, and then last season in 2024. Obviously, it wasn't that case with Aaron in the lineup more often than not. So, yeah, it was a tough luck season for Gang Green down in the green side of the Meadowlands. But, the Patriots at this point, now look forward and say, okay, well, what can we do to get ourselves out of the cellar of the AFC East?
And the funniest thing is, they couldn't get Bill Belichick to get him in 2025. It's like nothing, 0 zilch. It's
Yeah,
like that they decided it was a good idea to trade him in 2000, and now 25 years later, you got another chance to do it right.
yeah.
Get him to be your Nets head coach. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get you a Super Bowl or anything. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But still, though, you could have gotten him, and then boom, more eyeballs would have been on you.
Yeah, I mean, that team would have been a lot more disciplined. I can guarantee you that, and they would not have shown the same type of malaise that they showed all season long. Belichick would have got those guys to play. The question is, would Belichick be willing to go back to the Jets? I know a lot of bad blood still exists there between he and Woody Johnson. I know his first stay there was definitely not something that is a memorable moment for him. If anybody watched the two Bills on ESPN, they know that Bill didn't even want to go into the Jets side of Giant Stadium when he and Bill Parcells were walking through, and they were talking about the times they had. It was all smiles when it came to the Giants, but kind of grimacing when both guys were talking about the Jets. So, yeah, interesting times. We'll see what the hiring of Aaron Glenn. I am intrigued by the hiring of Aaron Glenn for the Jets. I think that was a great hire. I think Aaron can be a very good coach in this league. So we'll see what that brings, and whether it brings a new dawn and a new day for the New York Jets. But Mike Vrabel coming on board for the Patriots definitely is a new dawn and a new day for them too.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing though, is like, because he was a former Patriots player and he was the coach of the team that basically ended the Patriots dynasty
Right.
when he was in Tennessee. And that now he's like the new head coach. I mean, this is a win right there for me, like right there, in my opinion, that this is a win for the Patriots. Like, I don't think we'll be seeing 6 Super Bowls, but I think we could see a perennial playoff team with very Vrabel as head coach.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Mike coming in is exactly what this Patriots team needs. And I say that with every bit of reverence toward Gerard Mayo, who I had a chance to cover this year, and I know gave 110% of his effort every single time he led that team out on the field. I think in a lot of ways, he was put in a position that really was not tenable for him to be able to have to find success. The roster was not in position for him to be able to find the success he needed. The coaching staff around him did not have the suitable amount of experience to help buoy a rookie head coach that may have needed a little extra help in that regard. So really, I think he got put in a tough situation. I do believe you'll see him bounce back, and I do believe you'll see him coach again. But with Mike Vrabel coming in now, you've got experience. You've got that level of battle test that Mike Vrabel has, leading his team deep into the playoffs and bringing them to an AFC championship game. He knows what it takes to get there. He's been a player in those situations. Now he's been a head coach in those situations. And his challenge now is going to be taking a team that is rebuilding, that is still a couple of years away from contending, but bringing them back to a level of respectability and then bringing them into contention. I think he knows the steps he needs to take now. The coaching staff that he's hired, I think, is sufficiently experienced to provide him with the type of support he's going to need. But also, I think he's trying to sprinkle it in with some young, innovative minds that are going to try to help move this team forward into that next phase of football. So I love the hire of Mike Vrabel, and I think it's going to mean good things for the Patriots on the field.
Well, and here we have is an article of the full coaching staff for 2025.
Hmm.
Josh McDaniels being the OC. Now, I think he should stay on as an offensive coordinator. I don't
Right.
think head coaching should be his criteria because I mean it was like the Broncos he was meh. The Raiders
Mm,
tenure I did not like how it was for 2023 when he was coaching and he got all mad at Antonio Pierce for saying don't ever say that about Bill Belichick. Yeah, don't ever talk
mm,
about the Super Bowl between the Giants and Patriots. Which I mean, it's like you can't do that as a head
right.
coach. I mean,
Exactly.
if we're emotional, that's fine because I mean, it's like we're fans, we're media people, that's cool.
Hmm.
But if you're the head coach, can't do that. You don't do that. You
Oh
do
no,
not
you can't.
lose it. You don't lose it on your assistant coach for saying, "Don't tell this, don't tell that." It's good grief. It,
You're absolutely right. Josh has a tendency to be a little over emotional, and maybe that is one of the reasons why I don't believe you'll see him be considered for head coaching positions anymore, at least not anytime soon. Again, I think it goes back to Mike Vrabel wanting to provide stability to this organization. Hiring Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator, you can pretty much pencil him in as long as Mike is there. I think Josh will be. And at that point, that's very good for Drake May. He needs continuity. He needs a guy that's going to be able to take him under his wing and teach him the nuances of the game the way only Josh can. Because for all of his shortcomings as a coordinator, as a head coach, Josh is an awfully talented offensive coordinator, one of the best I've seen and I've covered during my tenure here in New England, during my tenure covering football. And I think most people would agree with that. So this was a great hire. I love Josh McDaniels coming back to this team. I think he's going to bring a little bit more of a nuanced, maybe a little bit more of an improved and modernized approach to his game. And I think that's going to mean the world for Drake and this Patriots offense.
Yeah, and I see that Todd Downing and Doug Marone are
Hmm.
in the staff as well. I mean,
Right.
I like seeing Marone. I think it's pretty cool
Hmm.
seeing him as an assistant. I mean, he did all right at Syracuse. I mean, he was all, I don't want to say all right, but I mean, he did have that one good year as the head coach for 2017 at the Jaguars.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Marone coming in is again, it's experience. You want guys that have been there, that have been to the puppet show and seen the strings, for lack of a better term. Doug Marone had his team in a deep playoff run with the Jags, so you know this guy is battle tested and capable of coaching deep into a season. So that's a good plus in his department. But really, where I think he's going to shine along this offensive line is his ability to have played all the positions and his ability to coach all the positions. This Patriots offensive line, more often than not, found themselves out of position. They were whistled for a lot of unnecessary penalties, and they were getting beat in one on one assignments. Doug Marone is going to make sure his players are tough. He's going to make sure his players are well conditioned, and he's going to make sure that they know exactly where they need to be on that line on all times. I don't think the Pats have had that consistently, or at least um, competently, since Dante Scarnecchia has retired. So I think with Doug Marone coming back in, it's immediate name recognition. He's going to command respect from the day he walks into that coach's room, and I think you're going to see the results on the field because he's going to demand those results.
Well, one other assistant I see is Chucky Keaton. Now, I remember him from Utah State. He was a
Mhm.
stud over there back in the day.
Yeah.
And I want to see if he can make it as a coach in the NFL. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think Keaton coming on board and his ingenuity, his approach to the game is going to be very interesting. I think it's great that he's listed as an offensive assistant paired with Riley Larkin, who is one of those young up and comers that I talked about earlier. I think this Patriots coaching staff is going to complement itself very well, especially on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of great minds, a lot of guys that are individually very good at what they do. Let's see how they're able to come together and rebuild this offense, which I'm being quite honest with you, Jackson needs an awful lot of help.
All the help they can get. There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm looking at the defensive staff, and how you feel about Terrell Williams?
I like Terrell Williams coming in for a couple of reasons. One, I think he brings an aggression and a nastiness that the Patriots have needed on the offensive line for the last few, excuse me, on the defensive line for the last few years. I love DeMarcus Covington as a line coach. And I think in terms of coaching his guys, keeping them in condition and putting them in position, I think he's one of the better guys out there. But this Pats team has not had the same type of aggression in getting after the quarterback that they had a couple of years ago when Matthew Judon was collecting all of those sacks, and Christian Barmore was up front taking on the double team. Patriots need that identity back, and I think that with someone like Terrell Williams, he's going to be able to maximize guys like Keon White. He's going to be able to maximize guys like Devon Godshaw, and they're going to be able to move forward now, and I think increase their game with someone who not only knows the position but has coached it so long. There's nothing along defensive line play that Terrell Williams is not capable of giving you. The knock on him right now, Jackson, is that a lot of people are saying, well, he's never coached anything but the defensive line. He's never spent time with the linebackers. He hasn't spent time with the secondary. He's spent time in those in those two areas. So I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. There is more experience than one would lead you to believe, but I think it's a valid concern that Patriots fans have that he may be too um, predicated on the defensive line to really worry about the pass coverages that teams are going to try to be able to throw at the Patriots and that the linebackers in the secondary are going to have to defend. That's where Mike Vrabel comes in. If Josh McDaniels is capable of running the offense, Mike, I think, is going to spend a little bit more time on this defense, giving them the information that they need from a linebacker standpoint, from a safety standpoint, and from a cornerback standpoint. Mike has worked with Zach Core before. I really like this hire as an interior linebackers coach. A lot of energy, but he needs someone that's going to be able to come in and mentor him. Terrell Williams will do that, but having Mike Vrabel there is your ace in the hole. This is the position he played. He's most comfortable coaching in that realm, and I think you're going to see him really at some point get in there and mix it up with these guys. Vrabel is very well known to do that, and I think the Patriots need it. They need a hands-on coach that's going to bring some of the aggression back in this defense that we clearly did not see all of last season.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, if you didn't get this stuff fixed, it was going to wind up like the Buffalo Bills from 2000 to 2015.
Right. Yeah, very good. And I like that analogy. Not that I like the Patriots having to be compared there, but at the same time, I think it's a very good one and a very accurate one. So we'll see what this brings. But I think Terrell Williams deserves a fair shake here in terms of what he can do. Going to have to be very cognizant of his play calling ability, whether or not he's going to get that duty, if it's going to go to Mike Vrabel, and he may, as head coach, be able to call the plays as well. We'll see what happens in that regard. But I really do believe that Terrell is going to bring back a little backbone to this defense. And again, I think it's something that's sorely needed.
Well, best thing about being down is you get a little bit of an easier schedule.
Hmm.
That is going to be one of the best parts for New England right there.
Oh, without question. Absolutely. And they have to use that to their advantage. Take advantage of the matchups that you know you can win or that you know you should win theoretically. You got to turn those into must wins for the New England Patriots. Have a little sense of urgency in every game that you play. And that's when you're going to see this team start to ascend a little bit and maybe back to the level that they need to be at.
Agreed. And I'm wondering how the special teams coordinator, Jeremy Springer, I wonder what magic he's going to bring for the kicking game and the punting game.
Yeah, I think Jeremy did a wonderful job this year bringing that special teams unit that really struggled in Bill Belichick's last year here in New England back to a level of respectability. Brendan Schooler deserves an awful lot of credit for that, but Jeremy is someone that is capable of maximizing talent, and I think he really got a chance to showcase that for the first time in his career last year as the special teams coordinator in New England. This was a much tighter unit. They were better tackling. They were much better in terms of getting into position. And I think they showed more discipline both on the kicking and the punting units. So when you look at what New England did, to me, it's not a surprise that Mike Vrabel would want Jeremy Springer back here to continue the great work that he's done with the special teams staff. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to evolve this year, and also retaining Tom Quinn. I think was a very smart move on their part as well. Maintain some continuity on those special teams because there's going to be a lot of turnover on offense and on defense. If these players who are going to be playing special teams assignments are going to move over there for certain snaps, you want to make sure that these guys are comfortable doing so. Jeremy Springer provides that.
Oh yeah. And for 2025, because free agency is going to be coming in a few weeks, and we got the draft coming up. What are the needs that the Patriots are looking for? Because something tells me they need a really good passing game for Drake May to succeed. You don't want him to become like Matt Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. The Patriots clearly need help at the receiver position. There's no question about that. They're really in need of someone that can, quote unquote, take the top off the defense, the opposing defense, that is, stretch the field and be able to help Drake May provide that big playability that we know he can provide. We saw him do it at North Carolina several times. This is a kid that is not averse to throwing the ball and making things happen with his arm, as well as scrambling and making things happen with his legs. So you want to get that balance, you want to get that passing game going, and you want to make sure that it's off and running. But the best way to do that is to give him protection, and he did not have that last year, Jackson. That offensive line was a mess for a better part of the season. And I say that with reverence to the guys that are on that line. And I know there were players that did everything they could to try to play as best they possibly could. They simply just didn't have the talent from start to finish that they needed to make that team where it needed to be. Guys like Vidarian Lowe and Trey Jacobs, and guys that were playing somewhat out of position at times, and they were trying to piece things together. It was tough. They missed David Andrews in the center. I think that assuming David would like to come back, and we're still awaiting word on exactly how that's going to work. Um, this is going to be an interesting year because if David does not come back, you need someone at the center position that has a great deal of experience and someone that's capable of handling a young quarterback. Ben Brown this year stepped in, I think did the best he could, but you saw that he wasn't the complete player the Patriots needed in the middle, and that productivity started to dip each and every game. Trey Jacobs the same way. He came in with a little bit of maybe a rookie polish and rookie magic for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden you started to see teams really start to tee off on him, beating him very easily, especially when going wide around the corner. And it was tee off time at 10 o'clock when it came to Drake May. So all of this needs to add up to providing Drake protection. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm looking at free agency, I'm looking at the draft. The offensive line is at the top of my wish list. Receiver is right up there as well. And then I'm flipping over to the opposite side of the ball. I'm looking for solid defensive linemen and linebackers that can really come in and move this team forward. It's a very good class for running backs and tight ends. Fortunately for the Patriots, those are two positions where I think they do have some talent. But you always go with best players available, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them delve into those two markets either. But you can pretty much look up and down this roster and say the Patriots could use help almost everywhere. And that's not a good thing if you're a team that's looking to compete. But if you're a team that's looking to build, like you just said, Jackson, you have nowhere to go but up. So give these guys an opportunity to build something special, bring some good, solid players in here and see what develops.
Well, and the best part is about the draft is I know that everybody talks about like the first round and maybe even the second round, but not enough people go over the thirds through seventh round.
Mm,
And it's like just because that you're not a high draft pick, it
mhm.
doesn't mean you're going to be a failure in the NFL or in the pros. That's like saying that you're never going to be with someone because you were a nerd in high school,
Right,
or, or you're going to be the lucky one because you're the jock in high
right.
school. It's like, the analogies for some people that might be familiar with it. So it's like, might as well throw them in. So it's like,
Absolutely.
it was like Tom Brady, 2000. Some people have forgotten that it's like he was the 199th draft pick.
Hmm. Absolutely.
That's nuts. like,
Absolutely. And he has parlayed that into the greatest career we may ever see in the NFL. Certainly the greatest we've seen up until in this point. So anything and everything is possible. Never let your draft position or how you enter the NFL dictate the type of story that you're about to write. Even undrafted rookie free agents have come out and had amazing careers and worked their way all up to being a Hall of Famer. So anything is possible.
well, and something I've been thinking about, whereas like some people are like a lot of people, I mean, including myself, let's be real, gotten a little bit irritated by the Chiefs this, Chiefs that
Mhm.
lately. But like a lot of people are acting like they were never annoyed with the Patriots dominating everything, where it's like, oh, now I'm annoyed by this, annoyed by that. It's like it's kind of irritating though, where it's just they talked about, oh well, I wish for the Patriots dynasty again. No, you don't. It's like it's like the '60s Packers. Those same people said, oh, I wish for the days of the Packers. Or are you a Packers fan? No, exactly.
Absolutely. It's true. I mean, it always surprises me to hear, hindsight be 2020 in these matters, and usually it's romanticized type, looking back at certain dynasties, certain things that have happened, and now you're seeing that with the New England Patriots because the Chiefs are now starting to get the old Patriots treatment, and it does amaze me how many people forget just how hated this team was. Maybe because we were on the fandom side of New England, we saw all the vitriol being thrown at us every single moment of every single day. I can tell you, going into opposing teams' stadiums, and wearing a Patriots press pass sometimes put you in a very precarious situation because they knew that this team was the antithesis of everything they wanted to see. They were so tired of the Brady Belichick dominance that really existed for 2 decades here in the NFL. The Chiefs are starting to get that type of treatment after being the breath of fresh air after Brady and Belichick had done their thing and gone their separate ways. It's going to be interesting to see if they do pull out the victory this weekend, whether or not they continue to get that type of treatment, or are they going to get maybe a little bit of leniency because the three-peat is something that's never been done before? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but they're going to have their hands full with the Philadelphia Eagles. I will say that. Any Chiefs fan that's looking through the Eagles and saying we got this in the bag, I don't think is doing their opponent any justice. This Eagles team is very good in all three phases. They can definitely cause some problems if need be in that level.
Oh yeah. And like a lot of people, whereas if the Chiefs were to win on Sunday, they'll be the first ever three-peat champions in the Super Bowl era.
Right. Hmm.
But the last time we saw a three-peat was in the NFL title era from the
Right.
Packers from 65 to 67. And ironically, they did it at the start of the Great Depression as well, from 1929 to 1931. So
Right.
they're literally like the only team that's three-peated in the NFL.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
true.
weird. It's just so weird though, where it's like the Bears almost did it, but they couldn't do it. The Browns couldn't get it done. The Lions couldn't get it done. It's like it's funny even talking about the Lions. Like where it's like it used to be like, oh, the Lions, they're that pitiful team. Now it's like, oh, we gotta take this team seriously, like, as well as we should.
Right. Absolutely. And again, there's a team this year that a lot of people thought had designs on New Orleans, and a lot of people believe they would be the representative for the NFC this year. Injuries can always be the great equalizer, and unfortunately for the Detroit Lions, they found that out. Are they going to be able to parlay the success that they've had the last couple of years into a berth in the Super Bowl next year when you visit Santa Clara? That's going to be interesting to me because they're losing a good portion of that executive coaching staff around Dan Campbell. So, can he rally the troops and be able to reinvent that coaching staff to get his team where it needs to be? Or are the losses of guys like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson and Terrell Williams too much for them to overcome? Sometimes the window is not open very long in the NFL. I think we're about to find out whether or not Detroit can answer the call in that regard.
Well, and it's hard to believe that next year will be Super Bowl 60.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Oh man, and then like the 61st edition will be on ABC, and it'll be the first one on ABC since the Super Bowl that had the Steelers and the Seahawks.
Right.
Super
Yeah.
Bowl 39, I believe.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of a Back to the Future moment when you think about all of the great moments that the NFL has had on ABC, and returning to that that market. Going to be very interesting.
Man, that's gonna be fun.
It will.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's also gonna be on like ESPN as
Hmm.
well for Super
Right.
Bowl 61. It's like, man, I mean, it's like I'm excited about Super Bowl 70 and 80 in the future.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
It's
like,
true.
oh, it's like I'm hoping we can see like everyone from the first 60 Super Bowls like next year. That would be cool right there.
Oh, will. It absolutely would. And seeing just how far the NFL has come in that time frame is really remarkable to see. Sometimes just looking through the old logos and seeing like where every Super Bowl had its own individual logo, and now they've tried to return to that a little bit, but not quite. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds for the NFL there, but it's hard to see anything else but bright. Everything they've touched has turned to gold the last couple of years, so we'll see what happens there.
Oh man, and I'm wondering how Tom Brady is feeling because he's like calling Patrick Mahomes in
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, where it's like I'm wondering how he's feeling about it because it's like,
Mm.
man, this guy could break my record.
Yeah, it's tough. It's got to be difficult on Tom. And Tom is a class act. He's always going to say the right thing. He'll tell you, "Oh, it's great. It's great for the game, and records are made to be broken." And I've got a lot of respect for Patrick and things of that nature. I believe everything he says when it comes to that. But there's
Yeah,
also, I believe, a competitive side to Tom Brady. First of all, that still believes he can go out there and play. I know that for a fact. I know Tom still feels like on any given game, maybe not an 18 game season. I think he realizes those days have long since passed him. But if you ask him if he can take the ball and go out there and play a game, he'll tell you, yeah, give me a couple of days to get ready and I'll be able to take that ball and I'll be able to do some pretty good things with it. There's still that competitor that burns in you, and that fire never goes away. And to watch someone like Patrick Mahomes come in, have the success he's had so early in his career, and be on pace. That's the common thread that we all see, right, Jackson? Is he's on pace to break Brady's record. He's on pace for 8 Super Bowl rings. He's on pace for this and that. Um, until you actually do it, it's very difficult to say for certain that it's going to happen. But that type of on pace talk definitely has to be. I don't want to say sticking in under Brady's teeth, or kind of getting caught under his fingernails. It's definitely causing him, I believe, some anxiousness. There's no question about it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to move forward as someone like a Mahomes continues to progress. The more success that he has, the closer he gets to Brady's legacy, and those are going to be interesting conversations to have down the road. Even with a victory on Sunday, I'm still not ready to put Mahomes on an even platform with Tom Brady when it comes to GOAT level talk. But again, every victory brings you closer and closer, and Mahomes will be in that neighborhood without any question. He'll be very close to being in that neighborhood with a victory this weekend. So always interesting to see. But Tom, to answer your question, Tom will be the ultimate professional, and he will, I believe, give Patrick his just due. But there's got to be a portion of him that really just wants to see himself be able to hold on to those records for all eternity. I think Tom Brady likes the fact that he is number one in a lot of records in the NFL. Um, yeah, I think ultimately he'd like to stay that way if all things were equal.
well, and even though like the last time Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady went against one another, yeah, like Patrick Mahomes beat him, but Tom Brady beat him in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. I hate to say it, and it sounds kind of elitist to say this, but Brady beat him when it mattered most. And
Yeah.
that's what history is going to remember. If you want to try to bring those two together and you want to try to debate who had the better career, who's the better, if the numbers are similar, the nod's always going to go to Brady in that regard. And really, I don't think there's anything unfair about that. Um, These two guys were playing at a very high level. It wasn't a situation where Brady was down to his, last gasp and Mahomes came in and beat a very beleaguered Tom Brady. Tom Brady was able to beat Mahomes playing at a very high level at the age of 45 and 44. So those are things that Brady can definitely hang his hat on when it comes to his stake in the claim of being the greatest of all time. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's really amazing when you think about our generation. And I mean, generations that have spanned now for the last few generations. We've had the ability here in the NFL to witness some of the great players in this, from guys like Joe Montana and Dan Marino, guys that I grew up with watching play. And then you go into the level of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and those rivalries and how they're going. And now you look at Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. These guys are reinventing themselves each and every year, and the NFL continues to churn out these players. To say that you've had the opportunity to watch all of these guys, truly remarkable. It really, really is.
Well, and I feel like the Bills in the 2020s, I feel like I'm watching the equivalent of the 70s Raiders anytime they're going against Steelers. Like they can't quite get it done in the
Right,
moment that counts, like with the exception of 76, the year to really go to the movies.
right,
But
absolutely,
it's funny. They could beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but not in the postseason.
right.
So it's
It's
like
true. Yeah.
I think Buffalo's just gonna be like, we gotta beat them in the postseason where it really counts.
Yeah, exactly. And they're running out of time to do it. I mean, it's not a situation where I'm going to say, oh, well, Buffalo's window is closed. And I know we talk about that an awful lot about windows closing and, like things of that nature. Buffalo still has a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They're still very much in this. But each and every year that goes by, Allen gets older, the team nears losing potential key elements along those offenses and defenses that could leave via free agency. So you got to strike while the iron is hot in the NFL. Sometimes you get to that level and things are taken away from you and you're not able to get back there ever again. You're never guaranteed it. So when you have these opportunities to compete, you got to punch one of them through. Buffalo is nearing that Buffalo is nearing that plateau right now. One may argue they're already there. They really, really need to start parlaying this regular season success into postseason success. Otherwise, history is going to view them as the team that almost got there but was never quite good enough.
Yeah. And it's like some people will forget about them
Mm.
in the future from 20 years from now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I mean, in the Patriots dynasty years, you saw teams like that, teams like the Los Angeles Chargers that, and the San Diego at the time Chargers that, had great players on those teams. I mean, Sean Merriman, LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, and Philip Rivers, and these are talented teams that really had. I think an excellent chance to maybe make a Super Bowl and maybe who knows, maybe even catch lightning in a bottle and win one. They were never able to get over that hump, and because of that, they're always going to be remembered as the team in that generation that could challenge but just couldn't get there. Indianapolis was able to do it a couple of times, so history will remember them different. They'll be revered more as a franchise that was able to get to the big dance and win it. The Chargers, unfortunately, find themselves in that category, and right now, the Bills don't change something soon. They're looking at a similar legacy, and I think they're better than that. I know they want to get there. It's just a matter of whether or not they can do it.
I mean, they'll probably get to Super Bowl, but I just feel like they're gonna come up short there as well. I mean, they're
Mm,
just that team that comes up short.
yeah, it's true. It really is. It feels like it at times, and until they get there, you'll never know for sure. But they really do have to slay that dragon that they haven't been able to overcome, and that is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a buddy whose fiance is a Buffalo Bills fan, and she is not going to be too thrilled about hearing that. Like, oh, the Buffalo Bills are going to come up short. I'm like, hey, I'm your
Yeah,
heart. Yeah,
you're
it's
being
like,
honest. You're being honest. And right now, history hasn't shown any indication that things are going to change. So, yeah, always interesting and always something to keep under your hat. So, yeah, good stuff.
yeah. I mean, I'll just be like, hey, I mean, at least you're not a Titans fan. It's like we're coming up short all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dyson, like It's like, he can't it's like, "Nope,
Yeah.
that's not the end zone, bro."
One of the
Like
most frustrating moments of any fan bases. Oh God, my heart went out to Titans fans all over the country and all over the world when that happened. And I was pulling for the Titans. I wanted them to win that game, and it was, yeah, heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
man, I was, like, 2 years old when that happened, but it's just like, "Oh, well." But, I mean, like, if Andy Reid was to get his 4th Super Bowl as head coach,
Mhm.
like, what's gonna be, like, the conversation around, like, Andy Reid and Bill Belichick? Because it's like, for those that are looking at Belichick, like, some of the critics are gonna look at the fact that he couldn't get a single playoff win without Brady, and
Mhm.
they'll be looking at Andy Reid, where it's like, he could win playoff games without Patrick Mahomes, but he couldn't quite get it done in the big one, 'cause it was like some people tend to forget that prior to Patrick Mahomes getting drafted in the 2017 NFL draft 8 years ago, he couldn't get it done. I mean,
Mhm.
because it was like Chiefs blew it against the Titans in the AFC wild card of 2018 for 2017. They blew it against the Colts in the first year of the Andy Reid era. The Eagles, close but no cigar in the NFC title game. And in 04, 05, they came up short against the New England Patriots.
Mhm.
And it
Absolutely. And it does. It really changes the narrative. And I think the narrative on Andy Reid coming up to his I don't want to say hook up with with Patrick Mahomes, but when Mahomes officially became the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, the knock on Reid was that he was an excellent motivator. He was a pretty good in-game coach, but there were questions about his ability to manage the clock all throughout his career, and a lot of people felt that that would hold him back in terms of being the type of coach you needed to push through. So yeah, I think that obviously, I mean, the more rings you collect, the more you're going to be in the conversation of greatest of all time. Reed's going to start to ascend up that list. But when you look at what Bill Belichick was able to do and keep the New England Patriots in contention for division titles for 2 decades straight, that is a remarkable. That is a really remarkable accomplishment, and even keeping them in contention when Brady went down and he goes, he wins 11 games with Matt Castle as his quarterback. All of these things will remember Bill Belichick, very fondly. So again, I think it's a similar situation with Mahomes and Brady as with Reed and Belichick. You're there. You're going to be more in the conversation. You're a little bit more in the club, but you're still not the king of the hill yet. And I think at this point, there's still those conversations will get louder, but they still haven't in my opinion, progressed to a level where either of these guys is ready to overtake either Brady or Belichick at this point.
agreed, man. And it's like there's also the fact where it's like Belichick, has that one Super Bowl victory over him, and it's like other than that, it's like that's pretty much it for Andy Reid so far. And
Hmm.
they bested Andy Reid in the playoffs as well. So it's like boom. I'll tell you
Yeah,
something. I'll tell you something. I'm looking forward to this book coming out by Bill Belichick, The Art of Winning, lessons from my life in football. Like I heard about this a week ago, and I'm like, I gotta get this.
absolutely. I am really looking forward to reading this for so many different reasons, but mostly just to see the nuances of Bill Belichick, the head coach. What he went through in his life to bring him to the point where he has become, in my opinion, one of the best football minds of our or any generation. When you have the opportunity to really examine the love that Bill Belichick has for the game of football, you really understand why he is the way he is. Having covered him up here in New England for a few seasons and learning exactly how much he loves the game, I think brought everything to a whole new level. And I was so very fortunate to be able to be on some of the opposite ends of those conversations where Bill would either go on for about 20 to 25 minutes on the history of the long snapper, or give you background as to how the quarterback position evolved throughout the years, and talk about his favorite kickers and punters throughout time. He really has a love for the game the way I've never seen before. And this type of environment for him to shine is going to be, I think, reading gold. So, yeah, folks, absolutely. If you want to talk about must read, this is must read for any football fan, whether you love the Patriots or you don't love the Patriots, whether you love Bill Belichick or you don't love Bill Belichick. This will be a great read for anyone. If you love the game of football, you're going to want to check this out.
Oh, agreed. And I was thinking about this moment for Andy Reid because, like, you've seen Monsters University from
Hmm.
Pixar.
Yes.
This is what I think Andy Reid looks like, and this is pretty cool, to be honest. It looks like Don Carlton. It looks like that guy.
Oh man.
I mean, they got the
Uh,
same personality. They're all happy, and they got that mustache. Like, that's pretty cool.
yeah, Andy is merry. There's no question about it. He is a very, very jovial guy to be around. Um, Unfortunately, you can't say the same about Bill all the time. There is times where he's been surly and very difficult, but I think a lot of that has been played up as well. I got a chance to see the affable side of Bill Belichick a few times, so he's not as mean and nasty as people let him out to be. But at the same time, yeah, Andy Reid is definitely winning the battle when it comes to being in a good mood.
There we go, man. It's like it's funny looking back on it. It's like I don't know if Chiefs fans are like that, but it's like I'm sure they'll be fine with it. It's like no worries. Like
It's all in good fun. It's all a sign of respect. There's a lot of respect that we have for Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs. We rib each other in good nature.
yeah, I mean I like how like Mahomes sounds like Kermit the Frog. Like that's pretty cool. Right? Like, all right there, Andy. There we go. Well, and you got some magic cooking up on Locked On Patriots and on Patriots Country. And, for those who want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on X or Twitter or however you want to refer to it at MDABATE NFL. You can find me on Blue Sky at MDABATE NFL.bsky.social. I'm also available at Mike Debate _NFL on Instagram, trying to get a little more active there. Really haven't been, but I am active on that as well. And you can catch Locked On Patriots each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network, most prominently on our YouTube channel, but we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Patriots is available. You can catch my written work over at Patriots Country at Athlon Sports.
There we go. I mean, check out Mike Debate on Locked On Patriots and on Patriots Country, where he produces all kinds of magic all over the place, man. He is the go-to for the New England Patriots.
Thank
And
you, Jackson. And you do a great job here on this show. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And I look forward to coming back and talking more Patriots with you soon.
well, hopefully it's on a better note for the Patriots this time around. And of course, you can check me out on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where Johnny and I talk about how spring is near and signing day is here. And let me tell you, it's happy days are here again in Tuscaloosa as Ryan Grubb is the new offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And what were the giveaways on how he was going to be on the Alabama coaching staff? Tune in to Alabama with the Voice of College Football to find out. And you can check out the 18th edition, where I am solo for the second straight week on the Alabama Call-In Show, where we took your calls and we take your calls every Thursday night on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. My guy Jeffrey is sick, but he should be getting to feeling better next week for sure. And of course, you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got episodes of the Jacksonian all over the place. I've got the buzzer beater of Will and D and much more projects right here on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube. And I'm 106 subs away from that magic number 500. I'd love to get there real soon. And for more updates on what I've got going on Alabama with the Voice of College Football and who's going to be on the Jacksonian, check me out on X/Twitter, on Jackson VOCFB, and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. But if you don't like Twitter/X or Instagram and Threads, come on in the Blue Sky, where I've got some magic coming in on Jackson Johnson 97. Whether it's me calling up the Feinbaum show or if it's me being on the Voice of College Football and the Jacksonian, much, much more. It's all right there. And with that being said, tell your friends, your families, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic that this show is producing. 39 more episodes till we get to 100. With that being said, we wish you all a good night and sleep well, stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. And we will see you soon. Take care, everybody.